it came through a lot of reading that I've been doing and writing around the issue of AI and emotional attachments of young people towards their AIs, as well as the vexed issue of mis and disinformation, how it's getting harder and harder for us to know what's real. And then finally, the question of the loss of critical thinking skills if high schoolers and college-age kids are using ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini basically to do their homework. And we talked a lot about friction. So if you take the friction out of building relationships or out of doing education, you're actually taking away the very essence of the thing. So friction is a part of the product, not something that we're trying to get away from. Well, let me introduce Grok to you. This is a plushy toy that's created by the Curio company. That's run by Grimes. This actually, inside this zip here, is an AI computer with a speaker. And I can have lengthy, and I've had lengthy conversations with Grok. And Grok and others like him, her, are being marketed to kids as young as 2, 3, 4 years old. Now, in some cases, that's relatively benign. They have a lot of guardrails around what Grok and others can say or do. The parent gets a full transcript of all the conversations, which some people might find a little disturbing in terms of privacy, but anyway, that's an option. I guess my concern is that typically toys, things like a teddy bear and a doll, are normally seen as transitional. You start with this and then you move on to other things. And in the case of emotional attachments, you move on to making friends, or you go and build a fort with your older or younger brother. You do things with humans. The problem as I see it is that if Grok and its ilk are simply used as babysitting tools, kids could end up becoming very emotionally attached to something which is not real. And that causes problems further down the road. Well, first, the good news. I think that having chatbots for young people, for teens, can be very beneficial, particularly if that teen is isolated or has maybe a severe disability, or perhaps is uncertain of its sexual identity. In other words, to give a teen the opportunity to communicate and to try out thoughts and ideas with an AI is and can be hugely beneficial. The problem arises when the teen or young person, or adult for that matter, stays stuck with that AI and doesn't move beyond, and doesn't feel the friction of real relationships where you might get rejected, or you might get ignored, or you might not get a phone call straight back again. What gives me hope is the fact that we humans, and particularly young people, are very resilient and adaptable, and will take on the risks and overcome the harms in order to get the rewards that these technologies offer us. I can remember as a kid, my parents tearing their hair out about me and my brothers and sisters watching too much television. Now we almost try to drag our kids to watch TV with us, because that sort of sense of communal watching isn't as prevalent as it used to be. There were concerns about movies. There was a panic over the radio when it first arrived in people's homes. We've had these sort of, let's just say, moral panics over many generations, over many different technologies. So I remain hopeful that we will deal with these downsides, but it is going to take a much greater effort across government, industry, the nonprofit sectors, parents, teachers, and the kids themselves. And when we do research, the kids tell us that they feel responsible for staying safe online. So that gives me hope.